Squeaky the squirrel loved nuts. He loved their crunchiness, their taste, and the way they filled his little belly. Every day he would venture out into the forest, searching for the perfect nuts to add to his collection. He loved to find them. The thrill of the hunt was exhilarating. Squeaky would sniff around the forest floor, dig into the ground, and even climb trees to find the best nuts. Each discovery was a small victory, and he would proudly carry his finds back to his favorite hiding spots. He loved to hide them. Squeaky had secret stashes all over the forest. He would bury acorns under leaves, tuck them into tree hollows, and even hide them in the crooks of branches. He was always careful to remember where he hid each nut, knowing that they would be his treasure trove during the colder months. Most of all, he loved to eat them. The taste of a fresh, juicy acorn was like a burst of happiness in his mouth. Squeaky would nibble on the nuts slowly, savoring each bite. It was his favorite part of the day, and he always looked forward to it. One sunny day, Squeaky scurried up a tall oak tree. The sun was shining brightly, and the forest was alive with the sounds of birds chirping and leaves rustling. Squeaky felt a sense of adventure as he climbed higher and higher, his little paws gripping the rough bark of the tree. He had a big, juicy acorn in his mouth. It was the biggest one he had found all day, and he was excited to add it to his collection. The acorn was so large that it almost didn't fit in his mouth, but Squeaky managed to hold on to it tightly as he climbed. He couldn't wait to enjoy it. "This is my acorn! The best acorn ever!" Squeaky thought to himself. He found a comfortable spot on a sturdy branch and prepared to take his first bite. His little heart was filled with joy and anticipation.
Suddenly a dark shadow fell over Squeaky. He looked up, his eyes wide with surprise. The forest seemed to grow quiet, and a sense of unease washed over him. What could it be? It was Caw the crow perched on the branch above him. Caw was known throughout the forest for his cunning and sharp eyes. He had a reputation for swooping down and snatching food from unsuspecting animals. Squeaky's heart raced as he wondered what Caw wanted. Caw eyed the acorn in Squeaky's mouth with interest. "That's a fine acorn you have there, Squeaky," he cawed. Squeaky held the acorn even tighter, determined not to let it go. "It's mine!" he squeaked, his voice trembling slightly. The crow hopped closer, his beady eyes fixed on the prize. How about a trade?" Caw suggested. "I have something shiny that you might like." Squeaky hesitated. He loved shiny things, but this acorn was special. He'd worked hard to find it, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to part with it. Caw reached into his feathers and pulled out a small, glimmering object. It sparkled in the sunlight, catching Squeaky's attention. "What is it?" Squeaky asked, his curiosity piqued. "It's a piece of a mirror," Caw explained. "You can see your reflection in it." Squeaky thought about it. The mirror piece was indeed beautiful, and he could imagine all the fun he could have with it. But the acorn was his prize, and he had been so excited to eat it. After a moment of contemplation, Squeaky made his decision. "All right, Caw, I'll trade you," Squeaky said. He handed the acorn to the crow, who in turn gave him the mirror piece. Squeaky looked at his reflection and smiled. It was a fair trade, and he felt happy with his new treasure. As Caw flew away with the acorn, Squeaky played with his new mirror piece. He felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that he had made a good decision. The forest was full of surprises, and Squeaky was ready for whatever adventure came next.
Well. What are we?
"It's my acorn!"
Your acorn? This tree belongs to the birds. And that means the acorns belong to us too.
"No way! Squirrels eat acorns. It's what we do."
Crows eat acorns too. We're much better at finding them.
Squeaky knew he had to be clever. Caw was bigger and stronger, but Squeaky was faster and more agile.
"You want this acorn? Come and get it!"
Caw eyed the acorn hungrily. He swooped down from his branch, but Squeaky was too quick. He dodged out of the way just in time. Caw missed the acorn and landed clumsily on the branch.
"Missed me!"
Caw was furious. He flapped his wings hard and soared into the air.
You can't hide forever.
Squeaky scampered from branch to branch. He was like a furry acrobat, leaping and dodging with ease. Caw chased after him, weaving through the leaves, but Squeaky was always one step ahead. The chase led them higher and higher into the treetop. The sun peeked through the leaves, casting playful shadows on the ground.
Squeaky used the shadows to his advantage. He would disappear into a dark patch, making it hard for Caw-Caw to see him.
Where'd you go? Caw-Caw cawed, confused.
Squeaky would then dart out from another shadow, clutching his precious acorn. "Over here!" he called out, his voice echoing through the trees.
Caw-Caw was getting tired. He had been flying for hours, his wings aching with every flap. The once vibrant and energetic crow now looked worn out, his feathers ruffled and his eyes drooping. The forest seemed endless, and the chase had taken a toll on him. He perched on a branch, trying to catch his breath, but he knew he couldn't rest for long. The game was still on, and Squeaky was nowhere to be seen. He wasn't used to all this flying and chasing. Caw-Caw had always been the one to watch from above, to observe and plan, but today was different. Today, he was the one being outsmarted. His wings felt heavy, and every beat seemed to take more effort than the last. The sky, which had always been his domain, now felt like a vast, unending expanse that he had to conquer. He pushed on, determined not to give up, but the fatigue was undeniable.
Squeaky, on the other hand, was full of energy. The little squirrel darted through the trees with ease, his movements quick and agile. He seemed to have an endless supply of energy, his eyes sparkling with mischief. The forest was his playground, and he knew every branch, every leaf, every hiding spot. While Caw-Caw struggled, Squeaky thrived. He reveled in the chase, knowing that he had the upper hand. He decided to play one last trick on Caw-Caw. With a sly grin, Squeaky picked up an acorn, his favorite tool for mischief. He knew that Caw-Caw's tired eyes would be drawn to it, and he had a plan to turn the tables once and for all. The acorn was small, but in Squeaky's paws, it was a weapon of wit and cunning. He twirled it between his fingers, thinking of the perfect way to use it.
Squeaky climbed to the very top of the tree. The climb was effortless for him, his small body moving swiftly from branch to branch. He reached the highest point, where the view was breathtaking. From up here he could see the entire forest, a sea of green stretching out in every direction. But Squeaky wasn't here for the view. He had a mission, and he was ready to execute it. He held the acorn up high, where Caw-Caw could see it. The sunlight glinted off its smooth surface, making it shine like a beacon. Squeaky knew that Caw-Caw's tired eyes would be drawn to it, and he was right. The crow's gaze locked onto the acorn, a mix of frustration and determination in his eyes. Squeaky's plan was working perfectly.
"This what you want?" Squeaky called down. His voice was playful, teasing, as he dangled the acorn from the branch. He knew that Caw-Caw couldn't resist the challenge. The crow's pride was on the line, and Squeaky was ready to exploit it. He watched as Caw-Caw's eyes narrowed, the crow's determination renewed. The game was far from over, and Squeaky was ready for the next move. He tossed the acorn in the air and caught it again. "Come and get it!" Squeaky's voice was filled with laughter, his eyes twinkling with mischief. He knew that Caw-Caw would take the bait, and he was ready for whatever came next. The tables had turned, and Squeaky was in control. The forest echoed with the sounds of their game, a testament to the never-ending dance of wit and cunning between the two.
Caw-Caw couldn't resist. The allure of the shiny acorn was too much for him to ignore. His sharp eyes had spotted it from a distance, and his curiosity got the better of him. He had been watching Squeaky for a while now, waiting for the perfect moment to make his move. He swooped up towards Squeaky and the acorn. His wings flapped vigorously as he closed the distance between them. The forest was alive with the sounds of rustling leaves and chirping birds, but Caw-Caw's focus was solely on that acorn. He could almost taste the victory. But this time Squeaky was ready. He had been through this before and knew Caw-Caw's tricks. His little heart pounded in his chest, but he stood his ground. The acorn was too precious to lose without a fight. Squeaky's eyes darted around, looking for a way to outsmart the cunning crow.
Just as Caw-Caw got close, Squeaky threw the acorn with all his might. His tiny paws gripped the acorn tightly before launching it into the air. The acorn spun and twirled, catching the sunlight as it flew. Squeaky hoped his plan would work, and that Caw-Caw would be distracted long enough for him to escape.
He didn't throw it at Caw-Caw. Squeaky was clever. He knew that aiming directly at the crow might provoke an attack. Instead, he aimed for a spot far away, where the grass was soft and inviting. It was a calculated move, designed to divert Caw-Caw's attention and give Squeaky a chance to flee. He threw it far away, towards a patch of soft green grass. The acorn landed with a gentle thud, rolling slightly before coming to a stop. The grassy area was a perfect landing spot, ensuring the acorn wouldn't break upon impact. Squeaky watched anxiously, hoping his plan would succeed.
Corkor saw the acorn flying through the air. His eyes widened with excitement, and his instincts kicked in. The temptation was too great to resist. He momentarily forgot about Squeaky, his focus entirely on the acorn. The crow's wings beat faster as he changed direction, heading straight for the prize. He forgot all about Squeaky and went after the acorn. The plan had worked perfectly. Squeaky breathed a sigh of relief as he watched Corkor chase the acorn. With the crow distracted, Squeaky seized the opportunity to scurry away to safety. The forest returned to its usual calm, the brief moment of tension now a memory.
As Squeaky enjoyed his victory, he heard a familiar caw behind him. Corkor was back, looking disappointed. He hadn't been able to find the acorn. Squeaky felt a little bit sorry for him.
Squeaky looked at his acorn. It was big enough to share. Maybe, just maybe, he could make a new friend. He took a deep breath and scurried over to Caw-Caw. Hey, Caw-Caw, want to share my acorn?
Corkor looked surprised. He couldn't believe Squeaky was offering to share. Really?
Squeaky nodded. He split the acorn in half and gave a piece to Caw-Caw.
Corkor took the acorn gratefully. Thanks, Squeaky, he said.
Squeaky and Corkor sat together, munching on their acorn. They weren't rivals anymore. They were friends.